You know what? I'm gonna be on this side.
Yes. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel, and thanks for stopping by for our husband and wife Q&A. I kind of thought it was sort of fitting that we're doing a husband and wife Q&A. I know Valentine's Day. By the time you watch this, Valentine's Day will be past, but it's kind of neat to do one in honor of Valentine's Day. If you're new here, stick around. I'd love you to subscribe if you want and like this video. And we're just gonna get right into our Q&A. I finally was able to convince my husband. He doesn't love doing these videos very much. It's been like a whole year, I think, since we did it last.
Has it been a year?
Because we did it on the day that you tore your ACL.
Oh, that was...
Last time we did a Q&A, he had to leave to go play basketball, and that night he tore his ACL. So
yeah, that was bad.
I can link that Q&A up in this corner for you if you want to go check it out. But we're gonna get into this new one right here. I thought it might be fun if you read a question,
okay,
and then I read a question. We take turns, so pick one and I'll answer, then I'll pick one and you can answer, or whatever.
This is a good question, I think, and something that we've talked about some. How many kids do you want?
I would say, I mean, having one kid did not really scare me off. It doesn't make me want to have only one kid. I would think maybe like 4 or 5. I don't know.
I have always wanted 5 kids because I had 3 other siblings. So having 3 other siblings and there being 4 of us, I always thought there was just like one missing. And so I always wanted like one more. Would have been just right. So
we're kind of in that same area.
We'll see. We'll see. Everybody says, you know, wait until you have a kid and then
wait until you have one, and
so
it's like, oh, wait until you have 2,
and we still want 5, and now wait until you have 2. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Well, we'll see. How is camper/RV living going? What do you think?
Should I go?
Yeah, you answer.
Good. Like, I actually really enjoy it. The one thing is, I'd say that's a negative is the lack of room, which is pretty obvious. Getting up in the morning and Mateo's still sleeping out here. My routine is a little bit different than it was, but it's okay. Overall, I really like it, actually. There's no complaints here.
Yeah, that is one thing, though. Like he said, he gets up and has to go to work and come out here and get ready to go. And Mateo's sleeping, so he hasn't been sleeping as late in the mornings as what he used to. So that is one negative thing I would say. And the other thing is that we don't have hot water for very long. That's probably the only, like, 2 negative things I can think of. But honestly, I have been loving it. I really like it. It's really fun. Obviously, I'll be excited to get home to our own house and stuff, but I've really been enjoying our time here. I've really been enjoying the camper, so yeah, I really can't complain about it.
Do you miss life before having a baby?
Yes, I do. I'm just gonna say it. Everyone's always like, once you have a baby, you would never go back. And it's not that I would ever trade him, but I still really miss the days when it was just us 2, when we could just pack up and go somewhere and we didn't have to plan around feeding times and all stuff like that. And I'm gonna just, I would say I definitely miss it, but I also I'm loving our life more and more in the stage we're in. It was really hard the first, for sure, 2 months to just get in the groove, and Mateo's almost 3 months right now, so I'd say it's going better, but I do still sometimes miss it.
I miss some things about it, but not as much as she probably does. I really enjoy having Mateo around.
I do too.
And I know you do too, but then that's not the question. The question is if we miss before having a baby. There's some things that maybe I do some. Specifically, probably one of the bigger things is just being able to have our own schedule, like have our schedule of when we go to bed. We can go to bed, we can sleep until we wake up.
Yeah.
You know, Saturday mornings. Now I mean, you
can't really do that as good.
No, like
sleep is just very interrupted.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing probably I would say for me is the sleep change.
Here's a question. Did either of y'all date other people before dating each other? No.
Not here. No.
Literally the answer is no. That's actually so cool. I love that. I always hoped that the guy that I date would be the guy that I marry, and that was granted for me, which I'm very thankful for. And I'm also very thankful that he never dated anybody either. Who's Chip's favorite sister-in-law?
Who's Chip's favorite sister-in-law?
Answer very carefully.
So this was asked by Dorcas Keim. Oh, that is a great question.
Thing is,
I would actually like to shout out her, what's her thing?
Homemade for hosting.
Homemade hosting. Homemade for hosting. Go give her a follow.
She's on Instagram.
Click the like button, the subscribe button, or follow her.
Basically,
whatever.
follow her on Instagram. She's starting like a food page where she's going to give lots of tips and stuff for the kitchen, and it's really fun to follow. So.
Is she starting a YouTube channel? Or
no, just she's on Instagram.
Oh.
In answer to the question, though, probably,
back to the...
no matter which sister-in-law would ask, you'd probably say it's her.
Yeah, so that's a great question, but I'm going to have to plead the fifth on that one. And actually, honestly, in all seriousness, they're actually both super. How do you guys deal with disagreements?
Disagreements. We don't, just kidding. We always try to never, I mean, it sounds cliche, like they always say, don't go to bed angry, and that's actually biblical. Mm-hmm. Don't let the sun go down upon your wrath. And we always try to work things out before we go to bed at night, because it's such a yuck feeling if we go to bed and wake up and it's not resolved and he has to go to work and it's still a whole nother day of not being resolved. So we usually always try to talk about it, and I hate it. It's not fun. But how would you say we deal with it?
I mean, that's the biggest thing, is talking about it and actually understanding each other, listening. But it's not always easy to do that either. I mean, you have to be very intentional in talking about it. I'm trying to think of what else. I'm warm.
Hopefully you can still hear us over the sound of our air conditioner.
That is loud. Should I turn it off?
But yeah, I would say probably we just make sure that we talk about it.
I mean, there's sometimes where you get somewhere and you just can't talk about it right in that moment. And then I heard somebody say, liken it to putting it on a shelf. Go in and don't let that affect, like if you're at somebody's house, don't let that affect your evening. Put it on the shelf and agree to put it on the shelf, and then revisit it once you're out. A lot of times what we've discovered is it's not nearly as big of a deal after you're done with spending the evening with family or friends. It's like, what were we actually disagreeing on? And
where were we? And you feel kind of stupid picking back up an argument. But somehow arguments always arise when we're either on the way to church, not always, church, or someone's house, or just plans in general. That seems to be, seemingly our arguments happen a lot on the road. What is your favorite quality you see in your spouse? I'm waiting.
My favorite quality, there was no rehearsing going on here, by the way. This is all just like on a whim. So, favorite quality about Valerie is her sense of humor, I would say. There's a lot of good qualities about her, but her sense of humor is one that's sneaky good. Probably sense of humor and looks also is very good.
Let me think. My favorite quality that I see in my spouse is, first thing that always comes to my mind when that question is asked is his sense of humor, but I don't want to say that because I don't want to copy, but he does have a great sense of humor, I will say. He does really, really good with kids. I've always noticed that, even so when we were dating, he always has done so good with his nephews, and yeah, I just have always appreciated that, and he does so good with Mateo, and I just really, appreciate the way that he interacts with kids and makes them feel important too.
Kids do love me. There's just something about, I don't know, I guess I go on their level or something. I'm one of them. What are some special things you do for each other to keep the romance alive? Go ahead.
In answer to that question, I do this more than he does, but I always love notes, leaving him notes. I'll sometimes write him a note and put it in his lunchbox or something like that.
Some advice for newlyweds. What do you recommend to prioritize in the first year of marriage?
Well, what I would prioritize might be different for some people and even different for Chip, but in the first year of marriage, for sure, if you don't have kids, I would prioritize travel. We tried to go to Europe in 2020. We got married in 2019, and we tried to have a Europe trip planned in 2020, and we all know what happened there. We're not even going to go into that. I would say if you can prioritize travel and just really enjoy time, the two of you, because it's not always going to be that way if you end up having children, which I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But as far as advice for newlyweds, advice for the lady anyway, I would say don't be too hard on yourself, because there is something about getting married that your hormones change, and I became such an emotional person, so much more emotional after we got married. I used to like never cry, and now I cry, not all the time, but I cry, and I've cried quite a bit since having a baby. But I would say don't be too hard on yourself, and just know that it's feelings like that are normal, just because sometimes you cry and you don't know why, and your husband might not even understand. Husbands want to try to fix it usually, or want to know what's wrong, why are you crying, and sometimes, like for me, I just don't know. I just need to cry sometimes and not have it fixed. So I would say, like, maybe communicate needs like that to your husband, and yeah, try to be on the same page as far as that goes.
Some advice, I don't know, this is just off the top of my head, is just to have patience. I mean, be patient, and you can't hammer enough into the thing of communicating.
Yeah, communication is
It's
huge.
a cliche, and we always say it, and everybody says it, but that's...
But there's a reason everyone says it.
Yeah, I mean, communication, and just be patient with each other. And in our experience, it ggets better.
Oh yeah.
Like,
everyone
really
always said
does.
when we were engaged, like, oh, just wait till you're married, wait till you're,
Man.
just wait. And we waited, and literally, it felt like it didn't happen. Like,
Yeah.
I have always loved being married.
Yeah,
Even though it's not
does.
always easy sometimes, I have always loved it. Yeah.
I mean, it just, like, honestly, it just gets better.
It does.
I mean, and there's rough patches that happen. For us, in the first year, there was stuff that came up, and things happened, but I mean, the plus is you have somebody that you can work through it with, and that cares about you. So just, it gets better. I mean, that's what I'd tell them. That's what I'd tell you.
Best thing about being married.
Best thing about being married
To me,
is
just kidding.
not having to leave each other. Like, I mean, you get to live with each other now. When you're dating or engaged or whatever, you have to be always leaving each other, and yeah, it's...
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, so I'm not even going to elaborate on it, because that's exactly what I was going to say.
Last question?
This is going to be our last question. I think we're going to wrap it up. We've been filming for like 25 minutes, and I don't want it to get too excessively long. I feel like my hair is getting, it's not as blonde as what it used to be, which is sad, because does that mean I'm getting older? Like, normally I'd be getting so blonde here in Florida, but it's just not really.
Who chose the name Mateo for your son? How did you agree with that?
You know what? I honestly think the first time I ever heard the name Mateo was from a TV show when I was single. I'm not going to say what TV show it is because I don't want people to judge me. But anyway, it was from a TV show where I heard it first, and I've had a list of names on my phone ever since like a long time. We know someone kind of that's named Mateo, and we talked about the name Mateo before we even were pregnant. We were like, oh, we like that name.
I'd say, so she came up with the name. I would have never went there probably, but she had other names as well that I just heard before but I didn't like. And I had names that she didn't like, but that was the one boy name that we could agree on, actually. I mean, I figure if we would have had to, we would have came up with something.
Yeah.
But that was that was the one boy name that we could agree on, and I like it. I mean, there's already a lot of nicknames coming out of it.
Some not so nice. Something I wanted to say as far as that goes is, like, I'm kind of surprised sometimes that I didn't rethink and or overthink that we chose Mateo, because it is a Spanish name and we don't have a Spanish background at all. But you know what? It really doesn't matter. If you like a name and it's the one you agree with, go with it. And we really liked the meaning, actually. That's why we chose that name. It means God's gift, and then he's named after Chip's dad. His middle name is Lee, and that's Chip's dad's name. That's mainly why I was totally fine with using a Spanish name, just because we really liked the meaning. So
I saw one of the questions in there were, speaking of middle names, what our middle name?
What our middle names are?
Yeah, what our middle names are.
You can say yours.
Mine is Jay.
Like so, J-A-Y, not just J. And mine is Ann, Valerie Ann. Sadly, it's not Ann with an E. Sorry, Mom, if you're watching. I really wish it would be spelled with an E. Just plain old unromantic Ann Shirley. Have you ever watched Anne of Green Gables?
No.
We should watch it.
No.
Why not?
Because I can already hear in the title that it's not a movie I would want to listen to.
It's not a musical. Anyway.
No.
I think we're gonna wrap up our video right here. I don't want it to get too long, but thanks so much for watching. I love doing videos like this, and I try not to do them too often because they can get old after a little while, but it had been a year, so I figured it was good. But don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and always boost my channel if you give the video a thumbs up, because that tells YouTube that people like it. So
go Bengals.
Stop.
I did that last time with the Browns. I had to do it this
Browns.
time.
Oh, okay.
With the Bengals this time.
You were sitting here just thinking about that.
Yes, I was.
Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you very soon next week in my video on Wednesday. Bye. You have to wait.